And hi everyone. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or a like or a comment in the thing. Yes? I guess so. If you cannot, please leave a comment in the chat section. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Khan and I'm a teacher here in Hong Kong. I'm originally from New Zealand, but have lived in Hong Kong for quite a time now and really enjoying it. I know some of you are going on your study abroad soon, which is really exciting, and we've prepared these classes to help you guys get ready for that. So today's class we are talking about quantities, and if you have any questions or something that you want to ask me, please just comment and I'll get back to you later on. During my presentation today, there will be some activities for you guys to do. So make sure you have your pen and paper or keyboard ready so that you can take part in these activities. They're not too difficult, but they of course are all very useful and related to the topic. So as I said before, the topic is quantities. And when we talk about quantities, we're normally talking about how many or how much of a certain thing. So in today's class, we're going to look at a few different things. To start off, we really need to look at the difference between countable and uncountable nouns so that we know how to quantify them. Second of all, we will be looking and practicing ways to express quantities because there are different phrases or different options that we have depending on if they are countable or uncountable, if they're a food item, and things like that. So, and then finally, just different types of quantities and how we can measure them. So feel free to turn on your camera. I might ask for some thumbs up if you agree with my answer. If you're a little bit shy and don't want to turn the camera on, that's okay. You can also use the emoji features or the chat function to respond to the questions. All right, so this is really going to be interactive. So please do, first of all, introduce yourself in the comments section. Tell us where you're heading on your travel abroad, and also take part in the questions that I will shortly answer. I can see a few people have already commented to us. We've had Furman, okay, who's going off to EF Vancouver. That's really exciting. I hope you are really looking forward to that. And I've also had Joyce comment in, who's going to EF Boston, and that's also very exciting. And it's so good to see so many different people from different places joining us today. So let's get started with the first part, which is, as I said, countable versus uncountable nouns. So it's really important that we look at the difference between these two, okay, because we will treat them differently when we're talking about grammar. And first of all, we'll look at those countable nouns, which is probably the easier one. And as the name suggests, they are things that we can count, okay? They can be one or two, okay, or more than that as well. So when we talk about objects that we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those things are all countable. Things like pens, books, chairs, those things are all countable. Now, those ones are generally easy for us to understand, but where the tricky part comes in is with the uncountable nouns. Now, uncountable nouns, as the name suggests, are things that we cannot count. And these things are usually quite abstract. Abstract means we can't touch them or see them, or they're very difficult to count because they're too large or too small. And so we can't actually count them. Okay, so there's lots of different types of uncountable nouns. Now the group is usually smaller than countable, but there are different rules that apply. So when we talk about countable nouns, I think most of you will know that, we need, if we're talking about one, we'll say like a pen, for example. And if we have two, we say 2 pens. But then when we get something a little bit more difficult, something that we can't count, for example, noodles, we can't count noodles when we're eating. So we have to name something or use something to help us count these noodles. We can also use some other words such as some or a lot of, or we can say a bowl of noodles. So we're going to look at that in today's session to help us communicate better when we're talking about, in particular, uncountable nouns. All right, so we're going to start off with a little game here. So we have two boxes. We have the pink for countable, or just the letter C, and then uncountable is blue over here. All right. If you, what you can do is you can just raise your hand on the side of your screen that you think the answer is, or you can comment in the chat function. So the first word here is money. Who thinks money is countable, or who thinks money is uncountable? What do you guys think? Go ahead and comment. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. Joyce is saying it's countable. Emma said it's uncountable. Erin said uncountable. Okay. Yunnan said uncountable. Hyang said uncountable. Any more? Don't be shy to join in and comment. All right, let's see which way it goes. Okay, it is uncountable. Now, I saw someone write that it was countable. Now, money is in fact uncountable, but dollars and cents, those are countable. So we can count how many dollars or yen or won or things like that, or but we cannot actually count money itself. So it is uncountable. Let's try another one. This one should be a little bit easier. Dog. Aaron's got it, is countable. Mohammed, Furman's countable. Lou's countable. United's countable. All right, too easy for that one. Definitely, it is countable. What I like to do when I think of something that is countable or uncountable, a good way to check, now this doesn't work all the time, but it's a good point of reference. If I have my phone here and I cut it in half, okay, I cut it in half, does that mean I have two phones or one phone? Okay, so if I cut it in half, doesn't mean I suddenly have two phones, right? So if you cut something in half and it becomes two halves, then it is a countable thing. So if I have a pen and I break it, I don't have two pens. I still have one. I just have a broken pen. But things that are uncountable, if we cut them, okay, or make them smaller, we don't know how many. We can keep doing that. So if I have a piece of my hair, for example, which is uncountable, and I cut that, I do have two pieces of hair, and I cut it again, I'll have four, and so on. So things that keep multiplying, even though we cut them in half, they are uncountable. So if we have a dog and we cut the dog in half, that's a horrible thing to think of. But if it's true, we don't have two dogs. Okay, it doesn't work like that. That's not how Mother Nature works. So keep that in mind when we're looking at the next few options. How about this one, an idea? This is a tricky one. It doesn't really follow my rule. What does it actually? Someone said countable. Lou said countable. Furman said countable. Erin said countable. Joyce said countable. Hyang said uncountable. All right, this one's a little bit tricky. This one is actually countable, okay? Because we can have two ideas. So just because we cut the idea in half doesn't mean we have that. So that doesn't follow that rule. But the idea is something that we can't touch, but normally it's like a suggestion. We can have more than one of them. So we can have one idea, two ideas, three ideas. That was a trick one. So well done to those who got it right. The next one here, rice. How about that one? Countable or uncountable? I can see who's on my camera here. Hilda and Dewey, do you want to comment in the chats? Don't be shy. Yeah, give the chats a go. Okay. I can see a few people saying uncountable, uncountable, uncountable. Anna, thanks for joining, Anna. Uncountable. Yeah, Hilda, I can see Hilda. Hilda's in there. Who else can I see? Let's make up the screen a little bit bigger. Who else can I? KM, how about you? Who else is joining in here? Robert, how about you? Very good. Yuki, join in and comment in those ones. Don't be shy, guys. It's all just a bit of fun. And of course, rice is uncountable. So well done. A few more. Water. Water, water. How about that one? Countable or uncountable? All right, very good. Most people are saying uncountable, and everyone is joining in. That's really good. Hilda, thank you for joining, and thank you for taking part. Yeah, very good. Water, you got it right, Hilda. Well done. So that one is uncountable. Last one, shop or a store. Can we count those? All right, that's too easy for you guys. Very good. So we can see that we have these two groups. What I want you to do is in the chat function, can you give me some examples, some other examples of uncountable nouns? So what other uncountable nouns do you know? Okay, can you give me some suggestions in the chat bar? All right. So I'll give you 20 seconds to do that while I go through and greet some other people. I can see we've got some friends from Korea joining us. Welcome, and also Japan. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining in. Okay. Who's Furman is got air. I want you to tell me, is it countable or uncountable as well? Okay, so just put UC and then the word people. All right. Emma's put people. Are people countable or uncountable? Emma, what do you think? Emma's got a few other ideas there. She's got oil. She wants to start. I guess so. Very good. Oil is uncountable. Very good. Although we do try to count it with money and air. Very good, guys. So I can see a few of us talking and writing some of these suggestions. I want you to hold on to those words because later on we'll use them in another activity when we come back to looking at uncountable nouns. So when we are talking about these things, we need to put a quantity or try to quantify them in some way. So we can actually use some expressions, and the two most common ways that we express, besides numbers, of course, counting, saying 1, 2, 3, an alternative is using the words some and any. And a lot of times you'll get these two confused between which one we should use, and I've set up a general guide for you guys to follow. So both words are used when the speaker can't or doesn't want to specify a number or an exact amount. So when we don't know how much or how many of something, we can use these two numbers to kind of represent them and go in their place. So some and any are used with uncountable nouns and plural countable nouns. So that word plural means more than one. Okay, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But there are little different situations that we prefer in English to use over the other. So some is generally used in affirmative statements. That means positive sentences. Okay, so when we're talking about positive things, generally we use some. I'll give you some examples in a minute. And the next one is any. Okay, any is generally used in negative or question statements. So here are my examples. A positive statement: she saw some deer last summer. Okay, so positive sentence. Okay, when we talk about affirmative and negative, what we mean is it doesn't contain not in the sentence. For example, the second example, my parents didn't buy any new books so far. Okay, so in this sentence we have did not. Okay, so this is a negative statement. Okay, so in this case, normally when we don't say any, that means they did zero, didn't buy any of it. Means nothing at all. And finally, in a question, we usually use any as well. Do you have any requests? Okay, we don't. It is okay to say do you have some requests, but generally speaking, in a question form, we will use the word any. Now, with these ones, we can expand this a little bit further to look at this table with other words such as many, much, a few, a little, a lot of, and lots of. So I've kind of made this table. If you want to take a photo of it, please go ahead and do that. So we have one column here looking at countable nouns, and when we talk about a lot or a large number, we say many or too many. And for uncountable nouns, we use much or too much. And we can use lots of or a lot of with both. So we can say too many people, okay, too much oil, a lot of people, a lot of oil. Okay, so that's how this pattern works. We can use them. When we're talking about very small amount or small quantities, we can instead use a few, not many, These are all for countable. A few people, not many people. Okay, and then for uncountable nouns, we can use a little, little, or not much. So little oil or not much oil, or not much water. Okay, and finally, when we are asking questions, of course, for countable nouns, we say how many, and then we put the noun into how many people are there. Okay, remember that when we asking a question, we always use the pluralized form of the noun. So it always should have S. So how many dogs are there? How many ideas do you have? Okay, so make sure you add that onto the S, end of that, we add the S onto the noun. For uncountable nouns, we just have, we usually use is, so how much oil is there? Okay, how much hair is on your head? Okay, you can't count it, but that is a question. So many and much. So those are just a general guideline for you guys to follow when we're talking about quantities. So in general conversation, we're not so specific, we can use these instead. Okay, we don't always have to give an exact number if it's not required to do so. So instead of being so specific, you can be a bit more general, and you can use these phrases here instead of that one there. So let's keep going, and oh no, I want you to write an example in the comment section. So I want you to make a sentence using one of these expressions in your answer. For example, I have too many friends. Okay, or how much time do you have? Okay, so I want you to make an example sentence using these expressions. You can also use some and any as well. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time to do that one. Okay, so go ahead. Can you make an example sentence in the chat or comment section for me? There are some books in my bag. Well done. Well done, Furman. Great sentence. And nice way you used are correctly, and also you put an S on the end of books, which is correct. So well done. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else would like to share? Very good. I have bought too many flowers. I don't think you can ever have too many flowers, but if you say so, maybe you haven't got enough money, then you might have bought too many flowers. Very good. Thank you, Emma, for sharing that one. Anyone else? We'll have one more before we move on to the next slide. Oh, someone's drawing on my slide. Very good. Anyone else? No? How much water is left in your bottle? Perfect. I don't have any money. That's the perfect one there. Very good. Excellent. Let me, I think I can disable that. Okay, very good. Let me try to clear the screen. Thank you for drawing on it. Who drew on my screen? 1 second, guys. Let me just clear that away. Can you see anywhere to clear it? I've stopped them from doing it, but I can't see. 1 second. Sorry about this. I'll just try to clear. I think if I click clear, there we go. Very good. Very good. Thank you for the creative artist at hand. All right, so now we're going to go look back at, there's a few more comments coming in. Let me just respond to those ones there. May, you said, I want much money. Now, for this one, we don't use much, okay? We would say, I want a lot of money. Okay, so we use the word a lot of. If we just go back to look here, okay, a lot of can be there, okay. We don't use much in this one here. It's not a question as well, okay. So normally when we use affirmative sentence, we will use a lot of, okay. How many do you have bags? Very close. How many bags do you have? Okay, so our friend who wrote that comment in there, remember that after the word many, we put the noun with an S. You put an S on the end of that, you pluralized it, so well done for that. But just remember the structure, okay? How many noun do you have? Okay, very good. And may, I want a lot of money, that's better, but remember want is W-A-N-T. Okay, very good. Just watch the spelling in that one there. Very good. Let's keep going forward. So, as I said before, we were looking at some uncountable nouns, which are more tricky than, or difficult than our countable nouns. So, so how can we count uncountable nouns? It seems a bit strange, but we can actually do that when we have a pattern that we must follow. The first of all, we put a container or measurement, a word, followed by of plus the word. Okay, so we will say, what can we count? Something that we can count, of, and then the object. So let me give you a few examples here. A glass of water. Okay, so glass is the container or measurement or quantifier. Okay, then we have the word of, and then we have the uncountable noun. Okay, so a glass of water and a bowl of rice. So a bowl, we can count rice by putting it in a bowl. Okay, so we can do that one there. Okay, so this is the general pattern that we will follow. A measurement word plus of plus the uncountable noun. Okay, so let's have another exercise to see if you guys can guess it. I have 3 uncountable nouns here: orange juice, milk, and wine. What is the quantifier? Can you guys tell me what is the measurement word or the container for these? Let me know in the chat section. Any ideas? Erin said a bottle. Okay. Very good. Some people are saying glass. Box of milk. All right, a cup. No, the one that all of these have in common is a glass of. Okay, so we have a glass of orange juice, a glass of milk, and a glass of wine. Okay, now Lewis had a cup. Now, normally a cup is for hot items. Okay, things like drinks that are hot, and glasses for drinks that are cold. Emma said bottle, which I guess we once upon a time did get milk in a bottle, so it is not wrong, but maybe in today's world is less likely, but still common and still relevant. Very good. Let's go with the next one. How about these 3 here? Candy, flour, and chips. Okay. What is the counter for these ones? Let me know in the comment section. Hilda, you better get commenting. You've been quiet again. I can still see you on there. Who else are they? Yuki, how about you? Yeah, join in. Don't be shy to comment. Okay, thanks, Hilda. Okay. All right, most people say a bag of. Very good. Let's see, that's correct. So a bag of. So a bag of candy, a bag of flour, and a bag of chips. Okay, that's what I need to buy when I go to the supermarket. All right, last one. How about these 3? What is the counter? What counter do they all have in common? Cake, pizza, and bread. There's actually 2 correct answers for this. Hung said a loaf of bread, which is just talking about bread, but do we say a loaf of cake? Wow. All right, so most people said a piece of, and one person said slice, and for this one, it is actually a slice of, but a piece is also correct, so don't feel disheartened about that. So they're both correct, a piece of or a slice of. Okay. Now, the reason I chose a slice off is because we've actually cut it. So that actually means we've sliced it. So it should be a slice, but often we will also use a piece. So both of these are correct. Okay. Very good. So let's keep going to our next challenge here, which is the odd one out. So you're going to see 3 or 4 different words, and one of them doesn't fit in the category. Okay, I want you to comment which one does not belong in that group. Okay, which one does not belong in that group? So here we have our first row. So we have the quantifier is bowl, and our options are cereal, rice, soup, and tea. So which one is the wrong one? All right, seems too easy for everyone. Okay, it was tea. Well done. I need to make these harder. Okay, how about the next one? I think this one's easy as well. Okay, so we have the quantifiers cup, and the options are coffee, tea, hot chocolate, and juice. All right, so most people have said D or juice, which is correct. Now, a few people said tea, but we can have a cup of tea. Okay, so we don't have a cup of juice. We normally say, as I said before, cold items or cold drink normally uses glass. All right, very good. Let's keep going. Two more. The next one here, can. What do we use a can of for? Peanut butter, Coke, tuna, or beans? Go ahead and comment. I see some people have put, most people have put A. Some people have put different ones. All right, this one here is peanut butter. We don't have a can of peanut butter, okay? It's not one of the options that we have. We can have a can of Coke, we can have a can of tuna, or a can of beans, okay? The food's in the tin items, okay? But we do not have a can of peanut butter. We call that word a jar, okay? So most people got it right there. A few people kind of guessed the wrong one, but that's right, that's part of learning. So, and the last one here, as I said, jar. Okay, so a jar, do we have the words here? Ice cream, honey, jam, and mayonnaise. Okay, so which one is the odd one out? If you don't know what mayonnaise is, it's the kind of like tomato sauce or ketchup, but the white color. Okay. All right, most people have got this one right. Definitely, we do not have a jar of ice cream. That would just be too ridiculous. Very good. So, well done. So these are all quantifiers. They help us to count things that we cannot count, uncountable nouns. So when we have something such as a jam, we cannot count jam. So we will put it into a quantifier so that we can actually count it. So jar, so we can count the jar. We can have 1 jar, 2 jars, 3 jars. We can count the jars, okay, and then we can put of, and then the uncountable noun. So 3 jars of honey, 3 jars of jam, okay, or 2 cups of coffee, 5 cups of tea as well. All right. So let's keep going forward. Now, this time I'm going to give you a harder challenge. These ones are for those people who are finding it too easy. Okay, so how about this one? Can you guess the quantifier for all of these? Okay, I want you to comment in below. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think of all of them. Okay, very good. Okay, so what can it be? Wind, blood, and soap. So no help this time. It's entirely up to you to think of the answer. It's a tricky one. I said this was for all of the ones that would be finding it too easy. I've only got one answer so far. Have a think, guys. What do you think we say for each of these? Any ideas? Anyone? All right, maybe it's too difficult. Well, if it's too difficult, that's okay, because I can teach you and you can remember it. So for those of us who are going to maybe somewhere that is a little bit colder, I saw some people said they were going to Vancouver, which I I think it's going to be warm in the coming months, if my geography is correct, but it still might be windy. So we will say, Anna got it correct there, a gust of wind. Okay, so I saw someone say that it's a gust of like that blow when the wind blows your hair, makes you look beautiful like a model. We call that a gust of wind. Okay, and how about for the next one, blood? Oh, 1 second. For blood, we have a drop. Okay, a drop of blood. So if you cut your finger, paper cut, it might come out. We call that a drop of blood. Okay, that's if it's only a little amount. Okay, for a small amount of blood, we call it a drop of blood. And finally, for soap, any ideas? Any ideas for soap? A bowl of soap? Not a bowl of soap. Good guess. A bowl of blood. Were we talking about the blood one, were you? Any ideas? Lou said a bar of, a chunk of. Very good. This one here, Lou got it right, is a bar of soap. Emma said a chunk of soap, which is also one of the expressions that you can use as well. Okay, it's similar to a piece. Okay, but normally we call it a bar, like a bar of chocolate and all of that. Okay, well done. So now I've had my turn of giving you guys some of the thing of the quantifier. Now this time I want you guys to think of the uncountable noun. Okay, so how many uncountable nouns can you match with the quantifier below? Okay, so we have a piece of how many uncountable nouns can you think of go with the expression a piece of? Okay, go ahead and comment below. Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time. I've got 30 seconds on my counter. I need to start the counter. Yeah, just comment them. Write as many as you can. How many of them can you think of? 10 seconds left. Get commenting. Don't be shy. I'll give you another little bit. Very good. All right, let me go through the answers for these ones. Let me just scroll back up a little bit to see what we have here. 1 second. So we've had a piece of pizza, correct. A piece of fried chicken from Yuna, very good. Remember Yuna, fried is F-R-I-E-D. Make sure it's the R sound, okay, not the L sound, okay. A piece of cake, very good. Thank you for that one to our Korean friend. A piece of bread, very good. A piece of pizza, okay, very good. A piece of paper, very good. And any more? Nope, very good. So we had a few different pieces. There's some more difficult ones that I'd like to share with you. For example, a piece of advice. Okay, so when you want to give someone some help, you can say, I'd like to give you a piece of advice. Okay, information is also a piece of information. Okay, is another one that you can say, just a small amount, okay, just not all of it, okay, only a part of it, we can call that a piece of information, okay. So those were a few extras that you can note down, advice, okay, and information, okay, are those ones. And a piece of, can I think of any more? We've had paper, we've had cake, we've had pizza. I can't think of any more. Okay, but there are tons of different ones that we can use for a piece of. Okay, let's try again with a different quantifier. This time I want you to use a box of. This one's a little bit harder. Okay, there's not as many as a piece of. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Okay, go ahead and comment. It didn't count down. I was meant to count down. Okay, I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that one. A box of. Okay, get those ideas coming in. Very good. All right, let's go through. There's a few different answers going in here. So we've had a few. Furman said a box of diamond. I don't think diamond is a box is a counter for diamonds, and if you had that many diamonds, you should really go to a bank and get the money for them. So remember, diamonds will have an S on the end for that one. Let me go through the correct answers first, and then we'll look at some that need adjusting there. A box of pencils, very good. What else have we had here? A box of cards, that's great. A box of cereal, also very good. And someone said a box of candy. Now we normally say a bag of candy or a packet of candy. Okay. A box of tissues, very good. Now I can see one for eggs. Okay, we don't say a box of eggs. It's normally a carton of eggs or a tray of eggs, depending what you're buying them in. A box of fruit could work, depends how you're buying them as well. A box of flowers, not as common. It all depends on what they come up. So when we're talking about these quantifiers, whatever the countable noun is in, then we count it in that thing. So if the flowers are in a box, then we will use a box. Okay, if the tissues are in a box, then we'll use a box of tissues. If they're in a packet, we'll use a packet of tissues. Okay, so remember that one. Okay, remember that we add the S onto the end as well. They're uncountable, okay, for those things. Remember, if we want to talk about 2 or 3 or more, that we say 2 boxes or 2 packets. So we will add ES into that one as well. The suggestions I was going to make has already been given, which was a box of cereal. So thank you for sharing in that one, or boxes of matches as well as another one that we could have used. Okay, very good. So let's keep going. One of the final activities for today is what food and drinks and other items do you have in your home? Okay, I want you to share, and if someone's feeling confident to share with speaking, we might unmute you and you can share with the class. But if not, I just want you to write in the comments section a sentence or two telling me what's in your house, and I want you to focus on using quantities. I want you to focus on using quantifiers for uncountable things. For example, I have a bag of rice, 2 cartons of milk, 4 packets of chips, and 8 cans of Coke. You can also make it longer. Remember, we also talked about any and some. I don't have any toilet paper. I don't have any wine. Okay. So go ahead and type that into the comments. Okay, try to make a really long sentence. Okay, not just so short, try to make it a long one using different quantifiers from today's lesson so that we can really make sure that we understand it, and I can check your grammar and make sure you've got the full sentence correctly typed out there. Very good. Very good. All right, I'll give you a bit of time. Don't be shy. Go ahead and type in this. Try and make it longer. Okay, not so short. Try to say, I have, or I don't have, or I don't have any. Okay, try to make a longer sentence, similar to my example on the screen. Okay, I can see some good answers. May said you have a lot of bags in your refrigerator. What bags of what, May? Bags of salad? Bags of lettuce? Very good. Furman said, I have a cup of coffee, some cereal, and some pieces of bread. Remember, Furman, for these ones, we don't add the S onto cereals and bread. I might have confused you earlier with that. I was talking about countable nouns then. Okay, so for these ones, no S. Okay, so just to do the other one. Okay. I have 2 bags of bread and a bucket of chips from Anna. Okay, for this one, I think you're trying to say I have 2 loaves of bread. Okay, for one, Loaf, and for 2, Loaves. Okay, loaves. And we don't say a bucket of chips, although maybe in the supermarket you can buy a bucket of chips. We normally say a bowl of chips or a bag of chips. Okay. I don't have a slice of pizza, or me neither. I have a loaf of bread and 3 cartons of lemon tea. Perfect. Well done. That's a good example. Let's see. I have 2 cans of liquid. Very good. That's correct. Emma said, I have a glass of milk, a tray of eggs, a jar of peanut butter, and 2 pieces of cake. Well, hopefully you've got dinner and dessert sorted for tonight then, Emma. Our friend above said, one second, I just need to find it. Okay. I have 2 dozens of eggs. This is Huang, I think. I'm guessing from Vietnam. So for this one, 2 dozen is eggs are countable. Okay, so we can say 1 egg, 2 eggs, 3 eggs, 4 eggs. And 2 dozen is actually a number. Okay, so for those of us who don't know, a dozen is 12. Okay, so 12, we call that a dozen, D-O-Z-E-N. And when we have 2 dozen, that means 24. Okay, we don't need to put of in this sentence because 2 dozen is just the number 24. So we just say 2 dozen eggs. Okay, if we are counting the tray or the carton, then we will put of into our sentence. Okay, then we'll put of into our sentence. Very good. Our friend from Korea said, I have 2 bags of dog food and I don't have any box of cereal. Thank you for sharing that one. Remember that when we are talking about 0, okay, so the number 0, we always use it with a plural. So it should be, I don't have any boxes of cereal. Okay, so we will say, for example, 1 box of cereal, 2 boxes of cereal, 3 boxes of cereal, and then when we go to 0, we have no boxes of cereal or 0 boxes of cereal. Okay, so when we're talking about 0 or not having any, we always use the pluralized form of that one. Okay, start with that one. Very good. Let me see. I have a bottle of milk, 2 cans of beer, and don't have any ice cream. Thank you, Lou. I have 2 bars of chocolate, thanks to Erin. Oh, I love chocolate. Very good, guys. So we can see that we can express ourselves using countable and uncountable nouns and using these quantities and quantifiers to help that one. Okay, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to help you improve on counting things. Okay, to help you learn when you're studying and when you go on your travel program, what can help you to improve, because there's a lot of mistakes, especially, well, in Hong Kong, I know, very famous for not adding S onto the end of a noun. They always forget it, they cut it off, and everything can be counted with a number. Okay, pretty much. So it's a little bit different in English, and I'm sure for other languages, if English is not your first language, then there are some other influences or interference from that one. So here are some of my tips and tricks to help you to get ready and prepare for quantities. All right, so try and make groups or families of uncountable nouns. So we did this in our class today, is when we took one word, such as piece or box, and then we try to see what words can go with that one. Okay, now some nouns can have more than one family. Okay, so when we have the word bowl, we can have rice, a bowl of noodles, bowl of cereal, bowl of fruit. Okay, so when you see one word or you have one example of a quantifier or a counter, I want you to try to think what nouns, what uncountable nouns can you use with this quantifier. All right, so that's my first thing, build families. Second one is try forming sentences with the counter and measure pluralized. Very good. So when you're practicing, don't always use a cup of coffee. Try to use more than one. So I say 2 cups or 3 cups or 2 bowls or 3 bowls. Try to always use the pluralized form, because if you do that, you'll make less mistakes in your grammar. Okay, because this is where the grammar comes into it. Okay, so people will always forget around. Let me see if I can just turn this one on here. When we are talking about 2 or 3 or 4, we always need to add s onto the quantifier, that counter word. Now, people always forget that. Okay, and the best way to do that is don't practice the easy ones. Okay, don't always make I have a slice of pizza at home. Try to challenge yourself, even if it's not true, to make one using 2 or 3. I have 2 slices of pizza at home. Okay, so always add the s pluralized form so that you can easily do that one. So that's a little bit of help there. Very good. This is a really good one. Walk around the supermarket or grocery store and see what items you can find with different container words. So most of uncountable nouns, or most of the common day ones that we use, or everyday ones that we use, are from food items. So a supermarket has all the food necessary. So walk around and just see what they are in. So for cereal, is it a box? If it is talk about soup, it might be in a can. And then when we go home and we prepare it, it might also be different. So try to think of different places you can go where they have different quantities, especially for uncountable nouns. The supermarket is the perfect example for that one. And finally, of course, my favorite one, practice, practice, and more practice. All right. So I know that we're all trying to improve our English, and the best way and only way to do that is to practice it. So make sure you do that, even if it is just something simple like building the families or making some simple sentences just to check your own grammar. Okay. Write it out once. I saw in today's class a few of us made a few minor mistakes, especially with the word or especially with adding the s onto it. So make sure we do that one there. All right. So before we go, I just want to remind you of one. Where can I go? I want us to go back to this one here. Okay, this one here, the structure, because this is the most important thing to remember, especially when we're dealing with uncountable nouns. And remember that we don't always have to talk about food. I talked about food today because everybody knows the food items, but there are a lot of things that are uncountable. Air, okay, gas. I saw some people put oil. Okay, these are all different things. And then we get into some abstract things like emotions, happiness, and all those information, suggestions. These things, you know, some of them may be uncountable. So we need to look at practicing them. So remember the structure. We always have the container word or the measurements such as glass, bowl, can, jar, piece, slice, box, carton. Okay, always followed by of. Okay, the word of. And when we say of, sometimes for those of us who are going overseas, maybe to the UK or Australia or New Zealand in particular, they get a bit lazy with their pronunciation, and it might be, the pronunciation might be So they might say a glass of water. Okay, they don't actually say of. They say more similar to or Okay, so a bowl of rice. Okay, a cup of tea. Okay, so they get a little bit they're less pronounced with their of. Okay, so for those of us who are traveling abroad to those countries in the future, just remember that sometimes it might not be as clear. Okay, so it's that or of sound. All right, and so just remember that whole pattern: container word plus of plus the uncountable amount. Very good. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask me? If so, please just comment if you don't understand anything from today or would like me to explain something in a little bit more detail. Please go ahead and comment in the chat bar, or you can put your hand up if you want to verbally speak it. Okay, just tell me and I can turn on the microphone for you and you can share. If not, just comment it. If not, there's lots of if nots in this one. Then thank you for joining. But I'll stay online for a little bit longer, and anyone who has a question for me can. Very good. All right. Thank you, May. No problem. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. If you don't have any questions, please don't be shy. Okay, if you want to ask me something, now is the time. We're here to help you. Yeah, someone asked, can I see the second page? Very good, no problem. Which one? This one here? I will leave it on this one for a little bit longer, and then I'll go back. Or this one here. Good. So yeah, there's lots of different ways we can count things. Hopefully, guys are really looking forward to your trip overseas, and remember that we have the other sessions coming up this week and also next week, so please feel free to join. We'll try to look at different areas. Today's class was more grammar focused, and other ones might be more advice or suggestions or preparing you for your journey. So yeah, please join us, and if not, I think that will bring us to an end for today. We shall see you hopefully tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Bye.